In the world of real estate, there exists a breed of professionals who are more than just agents. They are detectives, unraveling mysteries, solving puzzles, and navigating through the labyrinth of property transactions. You might not think of them this way, but realtors are the modern-day Sherlock Holmes of the housing market. You know, Watson, it has been brought to my attention that we're actually more like detectives than we thought we were.
Well, Sherlock, we sure have to do a lot of digging.
I think today we should tell the people exactly what's involved in our super sleuth work. Hi, I'm Carla,
And I'm Crystal.
and we're real estate agents in Mooresville, North Carolina.
Welcome to our show.
If you are interested in real estate, behind the scenes of real estate, maybe you're looking to buy or sell a home or have ever owned a home, I think that you'll find something interesting in this show for you. All right.
That was fun.
Well, welcome back. In case you don't recognize us, it's just us.
It's just us, yes.
Yes, Carla and Crystal. We're actually not Sherlock and Watson. I had to figure out what their names were. I didn't actually know that.
It's been a while.
But this was actually an interesting topic that was brought to our attention. And I think it's one of those things that we don't think about that we do as much as we do because it's just part of the job.
Yes. When someone suggested it, they're like, well, super sleuth, how do you all find out all this stuff? And I thought, well, I don't really know what you mean. Then I started thinking about it.
Yeah.
And we have pages and pages worth of notes of, yes, we do deep dive.
We are real life detectives for your benefit all the time.
Yes.
So I started thinking, I do think that my super sleuthy skills, as I like to call them, have gotten better over the last 10 years. I think that's a really great quality if you are thinking about going into real estate. If you are that person that can find out anything about anyone or any, like you're like the Google Master Plus, it is so beneficial to be able to do that in this industry. So, the first place it really comes out is when we first meet a client. From the very second they call on the phone and they say, "Hi, I'm Joe, and I would like to come see a house." Yeah.
Part of it has changed over the years. Where we used to meet clients, they would walk in the office. And now we do YouTube, we do so all these social media
Marketing.
that's right, social media marketing and videos, things like this and we get calls from customers.
Yeah, and so the first part of it starts out where we've got your name, we've got your phone number, and from a strictly safety standpoint, we have to start there.
Right.
So you've given me your name and your phone number, and I am going into every resource system that I have to make sure that you are who you say you are and you want to do what you say you want to do. Because we're taking people for our own safety, we're meeting strangers at people's houses, which is a little concerning in today's day and age. But beyond that is that we are taking people into your homes, and we have to make sure that we are protecting you and keeping your interests. So that could look like anything from going on a background search that we have through some of the systems that we have that can tell criminal activity. Taking a picture of your driver's license.
Yeah, even just Google reverse searching telephone numbers. If you say that you're from California, we reverse search and see that you live in our town, or the phone numbers from our town since 1980.
Yeah.
Those kind of things we need to do to protect ourselves.
Yeah, and I think that even if somebody gives over a proof of funds or things like that, I'm going to call the lender and say, is this a real person? And is this a real proof of funds? And there is literally no amount of caution that
That's
we
right.
shouldn't take in today's world.
It's got, and we've talked about fraud a few times. It's gotten so bad that we just can't trust anything anymore. So I guess for buyers and sellers, particularly buyers, don't get mad.
Yeah, when we're asking like these 5,000 questions, like,
Yeah.
why do you need to know all that?
Yes.
Well, because there's a lot of bad stuff out there that we have to protect ourselves and you from. So,
and I believe the sellers want us to jump through hoops to make sure that anybody that we bring into their home, and our lender partners and home inspector partners, anybody that we send clients to, we don't want to send somebody to them that's we haven't
vetted.
Right, accurate information.
I think that has really taught me so much. I will say that I have also learned how to super sleuth my children's dating pool. Sometimes I get caught at that. Sometimes I'm not as sleuthy as I'd like to think I am, but it is making me a better super sleuth. Is that even a word? Like super sleuth? Like where did?
Well, yes.
I mean, but people
Yes.
say that. Is it like a cartoon?
I think it
I feel like it's a cartoon. Like,
well, when my kids were in school, they had super sleuth contest every week. They would have a riddle or something, and the kids would
so I was wondering where I came up with that word, verbiage.
So it may have been a book, or we'll ask Kaylee.
Yeah.
She'll know. Because
So
she always won super sleuth.
yeah. So we've got our person out there, our buyer, our new person, and then the next thing we kind of do is we really have to use our super detective skills to help them find the right house.
Right. And sometimes the hardest part about that is often when we ask the questions like, what is your dream home? And they start describing, they tell us what they want. It ends up, that's what ends up what they actually want or need.
Yeah, and you don't know that at first, so we're listening to you, but we also have to like hear between the lines.
Right.
You know, so like somebody who says, well, we really want a big kitchen and we really need a really wide open floor plan, and maybe they're just really telling me that they are entertainers, or maybe they're telling me that they have little kids and they want to be able to see them when they're playing in the next room. So there's all these super listening skills to try to decode what the buyer says they want versus what the buyer actually wants or will end up with.
Yeah.
You had the one client.
Yes, I had a client that asked, that was a walk-in in my office, and came in, had a son going to Davidson College, and they were looking for a little cabin on the water. Absolutely did not want to be in Davidson, and absolutely no condo. So we looked, for a few weeks. They did several trips in town, and they ended up buying a condo in Davidson. Because they were being truthful about their idea of what they were going to buy here, but in reality they realized, being 2 blocks away from where their son was going to school, and since they were out of state, and they didn't have to worry about mowing the yard or maintenance or any of those kind of things, it just ended up making sense.
You learn a lot through the process of, and I often like to tell people, like, tell me what you do every day. Yeah. Tell me how you spend your time. Tell me about how often do your friends come over. And so that we can, really decode and think about what they maybe don't know what they need, but really actually what they do need. And then as far as finding that home for somebody, I tell you honestly, you could be on the other side of a restaurant, and the second that you even mention selling a house, if there is a realtor in that restaurant 15 tables away, their sonar goes off like, did somebody just say something about a house?
There's probably keywords like made an offer,
looking,
selling,
closing, the realtor, but
relocate.
We have to do this because some of those hidden gems that are not on the market yet, that's how we hear about them. I mean, we are constantly eyes and ears. Like, I feel like I am always, like, sometimes not to a good thing, because once that happens, my family will be like, are you even listening to me? I'm like, no, stop talking. I'm listening about a house that's coming on the market. Just pretend like you're talking so that I don't look obvious. But we have to.
Now everybody's gonna know.
When you see me and I'm like, just pretending to talk. But we have to do that to help them find the perfect property, because not everything is on the MLS. Not everything that you need is on the MLS. So, yeah. Have you found houses like that?
Yes. And also not just paying attention to people specifically talking about houses, but those events in people's lives that would mean they may have a need for us.
They may need, they may have kids graduating from high school, so they're thinking about being an empty nester, or maybe they have babies now, and so they need a little bit bigger house, or
they maybe lost a parent, those kind of things, or they're going through a divorce.
Yeah. When we hear about those things, this tells me a little bit of just keep these people on your radar, because they may need our services in the future, or they may have something that you might need in the future. And so I need to know, like, hey, I remember I heard about something where somebody was downsizing or thinking about it eventually. So maybe they'd like to downsize now for you. Yeah. So that's always a fun little detective work. Yeah. And then I think in terms of like sellers, when we are considering working with a new seller, we also have to do a ton of investigative work with that seller. And this is kind of for both sides, for sellers and buyers. Our house investigation skills
are good.
Yes, and they have to be.
They're good. But
I mean, it's not even just about the house. It starts way more broad than that, like you were talking about earlier.
Like going into the, not just what we see in the records on MLS. We go through the history. We go through the tax records. We look for liens. We look for
previous surveys and deeds.
Yeah,
what's going on around the property going on. So that's kind of goes back to the planning boards and things like that.
And things like the house that maybe in the same neighborhood that have expired, what the prices were like. And you were talking about one that you had looked into the history of and found out it looked on paper like it should have been priced at a certain amount, and your client called and said, look at this.
They sent me like immediately. I love that my clients are also super sleuthy, and they send me these houses and go, this is going to be a really great comp for our house. It just listed, and it listed for this price, and it's going to be perfect for us. We should kind of follow their lead. I was like, well, except for this house already tried to sell last year for $100,000 more and then $100,000 less and couldn't find a buyer. It has a really kind of wonky layout that you wouldn't know about, and it's really not quite the same neighborhood. So thanks.
Yeah.
But no, we can't use this one.
That's right. I was just looking at one today. Someone said, oh, look at this house in a waterfront neighborhood. It sold for like $585. That's a really good deal. There's another one in the neighborhood. It must be priced too high. It's like, oh, well, let me check it out. And the one that was $565, I went in and looked, not at the most recent listing, but the one before, and saw in the notes that it had structural damage.
Oh, so they're probably tearing that place down. They're just basically buying the land.
But it was important. It was important for me to be able to find that information so that my client didn't go and make the fairly priced house a low offer, comparing it to something that was not as it seemed.
I feel like this is where some of the sites like Zillow or Redfin, they do a bit of a disservice to buyers and sellers, and also to us, because they just take this like blanket approach. They like draw a circle and a radius and just utilize that for their pricing, which could give a broad guideline.
Yeah, it's just a range.
But to really get to the heart of a house, you have to know what all the other houses, when did they have their roof replaced? When did they have their air conditioners replaced? Did they have their kitchens or baths updated? Or do they have a boat slip? Do they have a water view? Do they have a golf view? What's behind them? What's on side of them? So,
or even just how they've been maintained, and we can tell that a lot in research on. Definitely, we can tell it when we're looking at a house how well they've been maintained.
Yeah, I like to look at like air vents. If I see an air intake that's just gooky, you know, with lots of dust and things like that, that is a red flag to me that says this house has not been well maintained, because that is the easiest piece of home maintenance there is. So if you're skipping that, then you're probably skipping some other things as well.
Right, and somebody that may have had their house really cleaned to make it look really good for putting it on the market, and they forgot about that, and we notice.
You know, I had the other day, we were looking at a house, and I opened up the pantry because that's another secret place I like to look, and the flooring that was in the main part of the house stopped. There was concrete, and then there was the old flooring in there, and you're like, okay, well, to me, this tells me that the updates that were done were a homeowner DIY update, because a professional is not going to have that. And that starts adding and subtracting numbers in my head, because, well, first of all, that flooring is going to start to separate over time because there wasn't a block to stop it. But it's a difference between a DIY update and a professional update. I mean, unless you are a professional DIYer, then I guess that
and
works.
There are some of those.
Yeah, but this one was not. So those are really good things to look at. And then like the house I showed my clients a while back, that they thought it met all their needs. And so we were looking at it. There were about 60 something acres behind the house that was like wooded land. And so they're like, oh my gosh, look at all this land behind us. There's no other houses. So to me, immediately that goes like, there's not that much land around here just sitting. It's all being developed. So I did pull up that, and it turns out that it is a piece of property that's actually under contract. And so I had to get in touch with the listing agent of that property, and he was able to share a little bit more, but some of what he was able to share was that it had been, it's in the talks process of, could this possibly become rezoned for commercial property? And that would have just been awful
for them,
for my buyers to have purchased that.
Right. So we have to, especially since there's so much development going on around here, we do have to keep up with what's going on in the planning board, with the county commissioners meetings, the new development applications, or whenever we see just a pile of red dirt, we got to find out, okay, what is going on?
What's going there? What are they
because
putting
there
there?
are neighborhoods, surrounding in properties that we are showing our clients that back up to this, and it is our duty.
And that's again where those eavesdropping ears come in.
Yeah.
Is that you always have to be listening and looking and alert to like what's going on in your area, which is why it's really important, I think, to work with a real estate agent who is in that local area. I mean, it's not always possible, but if it is at all possible to work with an expert in the area, these things it's invaluable, the insight that you can get.
Right. And when we have clients outside of our area, and it may not be on by miles, it may not be that far away, but if I don't know an area, I'm going to refer that to an agent in that area.
Yeah, if I can't become an expert in that area very quickly, then I think the best thing for me to do for my client is to get them an agent that I know and trust who is an expert in that area. Because some things you can't learn in the books and in the data. You just don't know. Like for me, sometimes it's been learning about the schools, which we don't really talk about schools that much because there's a lot of rules around schools. That sounded funny. But there's
school rules.
Yeah. And you can find out a lot of things about schools online. You can find out how they ranked at things like great schools or niche.com or NC report card, but things that you can't know are like PTO budgets for different schools. And those are things that a lot of people know if they're familiar, or you should know, because they have such an impact on the resources available at that school, or how they developed their grades for that school. You know, a school that has K through 5 is not going to have the same testing scores as a school that is K through 2. You know, they just didn't, and really learning how to dig into each grade level and teaching our clients how to do that as well, because that's really good.
It's important for choosing where you're going to raise your kids. It's important to our buyers.
Yeah, so we have to be on the lookout for that. I think some of it, you know, we talked about kind of the mystery of the history of the house. The amount of information that is out there readily accessible on your social media accounts, on your Facebook, on your mom's groups, on your Instagram, on your LinkedIn. Like, I think my new rule will be, when I have especially a seller, will be to put all of your accounts on private until we are done selling your house.
Yeah, or buyers too. I mean,
yeah, that's true.
I've always told everybody to not comment about, I'm so excited, we have 5 showings, I've already got 2 offers. Don't say
anything.
Don't say any. Just say nothing.
Don't say you found the house of your dreams. Don't because all of these things, first of all, they just whittle away at your negotiation power, and it takes away from our negotiation power for you. But
we're very careful when we talk to the other agents not to give away anything that could harm our client, any information.
Yes, I am very, coded in my words so that I'm not, giving anything. And we've practiced and we've trained for the way we speak to other people, so no one gets like what's going on behind the scenes, so that you can get a better deal or a higher price.
And how we pick up on the little things the other agent says. We have to be careful. We've learned how to ask the questions. Like if I were to say to another agent, do you have other offers on the house? And they can say all kinds of things. But if they don't say yes, then they do not have other offers on the house.
Because if an agent says yes, I would say they have another offer. Because it'd be an ethical violation that you would not want to cross. But they'll try to allude to this, that there's some very interested parties, or there's several that I feel like I'll be getting in today, but what that really still means is you don't have other offers.
Yes.
Yeah. And then just finding out about the motivation for why somebody might be moving. You have to be really kind of around the bend to find that out from somebody, but it's important information if you're a buyer.
If they've been transferred, so their job is moving, so they have to move. So the agent can say, well, they're not in a hurry, but we know because we looked on their social media that dad's already moved and mom and kids cannot wait to get there. That's the kind of things we don't want to put out there if you're the seller, but we want to find out.
Yeah. I had, I'd say in the last week, I have found out in different Facebook groups, one home buyer that decided to say, does anybody know a really good person to help with squirrels? I can't get rid of these squirrels that we have. We've tried this. So, this is not just I had a squirrel. This is a squirrel problem now. So this is an ongoing thing. But from that one post, I think there were at least 6 other people who chimed in and said, we've had this go wrong at our house, and this is where we used. And the time that so-and-so, that they chewed through all the wires that we had in our electrical fan, you're like, what? Stop talking. All of you, just stop telling all of your stuff. So I do always tell my people, be careful. If you've said stuff about your house, I get it. Like, you talk to people, this is how we communicate and ask for help. Take it off. Take it off anything that you've said about your house, because I'm going to find it. If I have the buyer, I'm going to be looking for it. I'm going to, because it's what's best for my buyer. And then if you're the seller, I'm also going to find it so that I can protect you from yourself and say, move this stuff off of there.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's amazing all the stuff that people actually
Talk
do
about.
put online and all the stuff that is readily available to us. So I think what we have shown here is that we're, I feel like, why does this represent? You have a magnifying glass, I have a pipe. I've
I'll
shown
see what
here
you're smoking.
is that you are a good detective and I am an old man.
You're a thinker. Yeah, you have to think.
I am perplexed. But that a good real estate agent is a really good detective. I mean, and we're not going to stop being good detectives because that's what our job entails, to do really good things for you as a buyer and a seller. So the next time you need a good detective, you might actually just want to call your local real estate agent.
That's right. It doesn't have to be about real estate. We'll do other things.
Yes. Well,
Check
super
out-
sleuth
check-
for you. I've
yeah.
got really super sleuthy Google skills, apparently, from my kids. But thanks so much again for this topic. This was a really fun one for us.
This was another suggested one from one of our fans.
Thank you. We have a few more topics to come up, and then we hope that we get some more requests for some of these. But this one was super fun. So especially if you have something that seems a little bit out of the ordinary or that you've just been wondering about regarding real estate, please send us a DM or text me, call me, and we would be really happy to hear it. So
Thank you.
thanks for joining us. Bye.